Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to LCO land. It is time to get into game 2. We got Chiefs and Direwolves playing their little hearts out, making it very close in game number 1. But in game 2, can Chiefs get redemption or can Direwolves start to run away with the series? That's the real question here, Rusty.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a good question to ask. We've spoken about this a lot already during the show, before the game started, during the game. Momentum is probably the key factor here. Chiefs have been known as a momentum-based team. Direwolves are very resilient. So the key factor here, and we didn't get to talk too much about why we predicted what we did, but if Direwolves lose game 1, I still had faith in them, which is why I predicted them, right? I think that's a pretty key benefit in a best of. Whereas I think if Chiefs lose game 1, you do start to get a little bit more worried about how they're going to, bounce back and perform. But I have surprisingly high hopes in this one.
Whilst it has high hopes for both these teams is Pentanet. So let's have a quick look at what Pentanet have managed to put together for us on the old interwebs. Yes, looks like they are certainly having a good time watching this match on what seems to be a sailing ship.
It's one of my favorite Simpsons memes. Look, it's definitely, I don't think high hopes is the way to introduce this meme. From what we're looking at, we're watching monkeys with knives fight while Pentanet are waiting in the finals to see who gets one step closer.
Well, let's have a look at the second piece that we have here as well. We have another OP.GG review, and we don't have Juice here to break it down, but I'm sure, Rusty, you know exactly what you're doing when you look at all these numbers, all these words, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what I'm looking at, Mac. That's a gold 1 Yuumi player, lost all 3 games on Yuumi with an average of 2 control wards as a support.
Ooh.
You want to talk about, and I'm not going to be too mean, because they are defeats, and at the moment, not looking too great in terms of win rate when you're not Galio or Seraphine. More control wards is a nice start. Less Yuumi, even better follow-up.
Yeah,
those are my 2 key takeaways here.
Pretty good KDA there, surely. At least in the last game. Although that was 17 days ago. This isn't even recent. It's like
I think the Yuumi must have traumatized
comes back to the game, plays a couple of Yuumi games, and goes, "Oh well, this is how I'll get myself back into the fold of things." Hey, I hate it when I'm playing Yuumi because you're coupled to the person, and then you're like, "Well, I'm so vulnerable if I detach to look to try and place that vision, so I'll just AFK." I mean, whenever me and Rusty play ARAMs and I get Yuumi, it's just a free ticket. What did we play the other day? It was Yuumi, Udyr, and you had Ghost as well. There's all the speed buffs, and they just couldn't touch you. It's crazy.
You'd stick to me the whole time, so I thought I'd do the Nimbus Cloak Udyr with Ghost and just rock it at them, because I have to put up with Yuumi, may as well have fun.
That sounds absolutely disgusting, and I hope I get to see it on your stream, Rusty. But something else that you guys might get to see is a giveaway. Some little goodies, a little, what do they call it? A swag bag. You could win yourself one of these swag bags, and look what's in it. You got a Zed statue, you got a Rengar plushie, hoodie, you got the bag itself. And look, it says more, but I'll tell you what else is in there. You got a League of Legends drawstring bag, which is probably the bag. The hoodie, there's a League of Legends hoodie in there. You got a lanyard, a stress ball, which is something that I certainly need to get my hands onto, and a wristband as well, so you can have a little bit of swag on your wrist and flex on all the haters, etc. Anyway, 2 go into the draw, and 4 more entries. Please use the code OST to Iceland. Jump on over to the LCO Twitter page, and there will be a Gleam.io link. Click on that. Go, get as many entries as you possibly can. I guess, probably there's going to be like a follow everything. I'd go do that because that's free entries and then also better publicity for LCO as well. So, you're helping everyone out, including yourself. But putting more entries on your bloody entries, you get double entries, triple entries, maybe even quadruple entries. I'm actually going to go during this game and look, but I won't enter because I don't want to take this away from you guys at home, because you guys make the memes for us here.
I just want to see an Incursio signature on one of those Zed statues. That will just upsell its potential, its price. It would just become a collector's item. It'd be like one of those like Charizard Pokemon cards from back when we were like babies. It'd be one of those ones that you're looking like 10 years time and be like, it's worth 5k. You just get your mortgage with a fake Incursio statue. So there you go.
You certainly could. Hopefully we can get Incursio to sign it. No promises there, though, but maybe, that's a thought. It's certainly a thought. And you guys got to do some thinking, too. It's time for the draft. Game 2 coming at you all right now.
Game 2, Rusty. Well, we will, I suppose, find out if this is a momentum series or not, because I talked about, you know, what will this game feel like after 40 minutes it was, where it was so back and forth, and it felt like, you know, one of these teams was going to come away from it feeling rather empty-handed. You know, Direwolf, sure, the game's pace certainly was in their favor. They had their blips on the radar. We're not going to dismiss that, but, you know, at that final dance, that final Elder Dragon, they were able to win the game there.
Yeah, definitely were. I mean, having to earn your victory is not the way the Direwolves would want to do it, but they'll take that at the end of the day. We mentioned this, Chiefs will be fine overall, and you can see that reflected through the draft so far. You know, they've chosen blue side, Direwolves chose red in game number 1. So overall, nothing changes. Looking at the bans, the Alistar being out of the bans in place of Anar is the one key change here. It makes you wonder if Cupcake may in the first 3 picks actually pivot towards a bit more Alistar priority. Kai'Sa Ali is also a fantastic lane duo, if that's a direction that Chiefs would like to go in lieu of the Tristana being banned away.
So it's a good talking point, because that is the only adaptation we've seen from this pick ban phase so far, with the Nar being removed. Looking to definitely target Claire after what was such a vulnerable state for the Chiefs to play around. So same picks to open things off with. What does it mean, though, in terms of the response here for the Chiefs? You highlighted the Kai'Sa. The Alistar would make sense, especially given that Draku loves to play the more traditional supports. He's got 7 games on the rail. Then his second most played was the Alistar. So would expect to see that one here, but it does start to beg the question. You know, we've definitely got a lot of similarities between Claire and Lived in the top lane. But what Claire does have is the fact that he's played the likes of Karma top 2.
Yeah, I mean, he could play a lot of different things up there. This is the first real adaptation that we're seeing overall, besides the Nar being taken away. Kisei's gone for more of a pick-oriented mid laner. The Victor could have potentially been improved with something like the Ahri, just in the way that the Chiefs played it out. Was a lot more emphasis on looking for picks before fights. So Ahri caters to that pretty heavily, which means that I think Chiefs are leaning into where they found success in game number 1, which is a very viable option. However, they've shown their hand in their first 3 with that Ahri pick, something that you would never expect to be banned away from them. They've hidden their support option, right? And they do get the choice of a counter now, but they've also given the Tahm Kench over to Direwolves, which protects the Jinx from exactly what they were doing successfully last game.
And surely, if we're looking at a very similar draft to come into game 2 with the Tahm Kench, is invaluable in what it offers, because that was Gun Crab with a massive lead, with an item advantage, with no protection, still able to, when given a chance, output significant amount of damage. The fact that now there is a Tahm Kench to play around 2, you might even get him to see play even more aggressive, right? Similar trajectory in terms of cross-map play, where he can just portal across the map and pop up somewhere else and continue to do what he does best, which is roam. But as far as team fights are concerned, that could be invaluable here for the side of Direwolves team fighting.
Silas going to be banned here away from Shock, presumably into the Ahri. One of the most annoying things to deal with as Ahri is you actually lose all advantages you have in that lane, because he has an extra dash over you. So he's just able to just chase you down. You give him a powerful ultimate. Silas also something that's been rising to power with emphasis lately, globally, not just locally here in the LCO. As the Ornn being prioritized as a ban with the Alistar over something like the Sion, it does seem to me that Claire has felt what happens when the top and jungle duo of the Chiefs find him, and he doesn't want that combo to happen against Sion. A little bit slow, a little bit more wind up to that. Doesn't have as strong a laning phase, but is very strong and almost unstoppably strong come team fights.
Certainly is, and a big component as to what Liv's been playing. A fair portion of these last few games, it has really been the flex between that and the Sion. So he's going to no doubt find himself comfort regardless. The Victor has been removed, but that's not going to deter Shock, who's now hovering near Zir for the 2nd time in a row, a champion that he's found a lot of fun on across all the years, but it has been his most played this season.
Just thinking about what will be picked down in bot lane now with the Kai'Sa. With the Alistar removed, you could go aggressive like the Leona, but you have to remember that there's a Tahm Kench now on the other side of the coin. Gragas has utility against both of them potentially. And we don't mention this often, but a Draku is just an enchanter player. So this is one of those lanes where you kind of open the floodgates for the rare opportunity to see Draku on an enchanter playing that one out. So he'll get the Soraka here. Tahm Kench free lane, generally speaking, will provide a lot of utility. It's just that we're waiting to see how Direwolves round that comp out. And if there's weak side top lane, lots of prio bot lane, this will be a very interesting first 10 minutes in bot.
Certainly could be. We've seen him play it before, and to good success. If he is looking to play more so to the lane as opposed to roaming, if he just wants to sit there and protect and ensure that Mboma is able to trade a lot more aggressively, he's able to sustain himself and prevent the gold discrepancy in the CS department at least ballooning out of control as it did in game number 1. The final pick here for the side of the Direwolves, the grand reveal. What angle will Claire take? He's popped off before on the Camille, and he's looking to pop off again.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not a bad Camille angle here. Gives them a split push threat as well. They also have, overall, looking at the Dial's composition now, you've got a Tahm Kench who can go to those side lanes with your AD carry, right? So now you've got a split pushing Camille, you've got a teleporting mid laner. You can play to either of those side lanes, and it's not necessarily like a true 1-3-1 comp, but you play towards strong sides of the map so fast and so aggressively that it feels like a very fast-paced 1-3-1, I guess is how I would explain it. The other side of the coin here for the Chiefs is much more front-to-back style comp, right? Sion not going to be winning the laning phase super hard with a Hecarim possible, but Camille should be fine. Hecarim being fed would be nice, but at the same time, you really need Mboma and Kisei to be relevant champions in this game to have the optimum level of success. Can't just be a fed Hecarim this time around.
Yeah.
And a lot of picks, I think, still played around jungle, playing through mid, going to bottom is probably the prototypical, I would say, archetype what we'll get from Chiefs here.
I'm actually just noting back to week number 5 when we had the exact same top jungle duo between these two teams when they last met. And it was the case of Claire finding himself a massive lead. He finished the game 7-2 on the Camille going into that of Liv Sion. So looking to say, all right, I can't deal with the two of you, so I'll remove the Ornn. You can still have your Hecarim. You can still take your team in the carry direction as that jungler. But I'm going to feel a lot more successful, a lot more comfortable, right? Saying that we're not so channeled into having to always play behind, run away from you guys looking to want to play those team fights. We can just split push. You can hunt for fights, but we can play for the map. So these are two team comps that we have here. Rusty going into game number 2. Is there any major surprise? I mean, sure, we can talk about the fact that Draku is opting to go into the more Enchanter route here. But I think for me, it's the fact that Tahm Kench got let through.
Yeah, Tahm Kench being prioritized as a pick here for the side of Direwolves. They didn't want it to be banned away like in game number 1. Another thing for me as well, you know, not just Draku playing those enchanters, I'm looking at how Chiefs overall will be playing their League of Legends in a macro sense. That's where my eyes are going to be firmly planted.
Well, as we crack ourselves into game number 2 in the series, we get a chance to now check in with the coach of the Chiefs as we welcome back Coach Kuden. How are you, man?
Yoza.
Hey, talk to me, Kuden. So you come into this one, you took down Order in a clean 3-0 sweep. It was a dominating series. I had a chance to speak with Draco after, and you said, look, you know, this is the difference between us and regular season. This is what we can bring from scrims into a stage performance. How good did that feel, first of all?
Felt pretty good. We came 5th place. Everyone was underestimating us. Like, even Order thought they were going to 3-0 us, so felt good getting revenge. And you know, remember when Order
speak to me a little bit about this series. Talk to me a little bit about this series. The fact is that, you know, we've gone along the narrative of, you know, regular season, head-to-head. It hasn't been your moment to take down the Direwolves, but a very competitive game 1. Went the wire, a massive comeback in the mid-game. Is there more of that to expect? Is this kind of all according to plan, would you say?
Yeah, we just fixed up our early game. They don't let Cupcake get 50 kills, and I think we're definitely better players overall. But they got lucky as well last game. And Jinx crit.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about some of those matchups. Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? We know we're harping on about the fact that Gunkrab has this insane KDA on the champion, but I can see a lot of those adaptations, in particular in the bot lane, to offer protection. We talk about both support players being very keen to roam, but we saw in game 1 that Draco was quite keen to stick with Mboma. We're seeing the same here with the Soraka. Talk me through the Soraka pick a little bit more.
Yeah, Soraka's one of the strongest champs in the game. She can, you know, in other games where they have healers, like out of the MMOs, we got a healer now, and it's possible to die on our team.
Yes.
Yep. Heals are the most important thing with using the fact that we have a healer now, and they don't.
Yeah, Enchanters, as we've seen already, especially with their 2-item spikes, are pretty crazy, right? On a final note, I just wanted to mention You come into this one, we saw a big emphasis towards top side to try and bully out Claire. Does that seem to be the game plan? You definitely got champions catered towards it. We see a bit of an adaptation in the draft this time around, but been really impressed with Liv's performance so far. So there's been a big emphasis on trying to find leads through him.
Mostly just because Claire is his first time playing top, so it's not like we target him. He just presents us with gold, free gold, top lane. We don't. Sometimes it's a free kill, so we take it. That's it. Yep.
And then, as always, I know you've got a lot to say to end off an interview. Is there anything you want to bring to us this time around, mate?
Nah, I'm pretty stressed out, pretty
zoned in.
focused.
Just focused on draft, mate.
Focused, man. No jokes
That's
today,
the
guys.
way.
I'm sorry. I love the memes, but
No
now
jokes today. Chat's a little bit sad.
Buckle down.
Stay in your lane
That's
and
the way,
flourish, mate.
I need to go to Iceland, guys. I really need to go to Iceland. I want to see my favorite actor. He's the guy from Lazy Town, Sporticus. He's from Iceland. I want to see him. I really need to win.
Let's see, mate. I love your work, and I look forward to you guys going further in this one. We'll talk soon, eh?
Thanks everyone.
Right, Rusty, as we jump out of that one, we see a potential dive towards bot side, and I think that's probably the best example as to why Tahm Kench is so strong.
Yeah, I mean, does keep Gunkrab alive. Lived is having a crack at it, but it doesn't seem like anything more is going to progress from that one. At the end of the day, while Cupcake does actually cop a full knockup and needs to be careful, he keeps his 80 carry alive. It's a big wave that was missed there, and Only's here. They were considering. I think that would have been very dangerous. Only was hovering really nicely there to keep them around. Okay. So to recap, Claire just presents it, right? So top lane's a free win because eventually Claire will just present it. In the words of Kuden. So playing towards getting a bot side lead is the logical answer, right, from that point on. And that's where the Chiefs have gone so far.
Certainly have, as we get to see what could actually take place as a result. Also worth noting there, Rusty, big emphasis towards that bot lane. 2 teleports were burnt as a result, where it's worth noting also that Gunkrab himself hasn't opted for the combat summoner, no heal, no exhaust. He's meaning that Direwolves have triple summoners across the map.
Yeah, triple teleports to be able to influence everywhere. Lots of scaling is actually the game plan here overall from the items as well. You've got 2 culls picked up here by the Camille and the Jinx alike. Definitely just looking to stay in their lanes and farm for as long as they can. Try and get those first big item spikes and a little bit of change potentially before they commit themselves to anything drastic. Makes sense. Sion topside being weak-sided. You know, he's actually down a significant amount of farm. That teleport will hurt him greatly. And just quickly to recap bottom as well, you're seeing about a 12 CS lead, but that's about 12 minions that are going to crash there as well. So it hasn't actually been too bad for Gunkrab and Cupcake, thanks to that teleport.
He hasn't. Going to be content once again. If a trade goes awry, then he can just gobble you up, take you back to the turret, and ensure that you can pick up all this CS without any major harm. Worth noting that we haven't seen too much Tahm Kench. For the most part, it has really been the Senna Tahm pairing that's been so prevalent in our region. But as far as it goes for Cupcake, it was actually his second most played last year, just behind that of the Bard. So recency is still there. Not one that's been dusted off with too many cobwebs, but is going to be a champion we're going to be putting a lot of focus on as to what can achieve in these later fights.
Menz does love his Tahm Kench. Not too surprising to see that one. Sion top lane, Hecarim 6.
Certainly is. It's going to be Claire in trouble right now. Has already burnt that Hextech ultimatum, survived, still has flash, but the wave is going to crash. And Only is all the way down bot side, so no protection is there. He's going to hook shot and have to sacrifice a big wave.
We didn't see exactly what was used there. He'll probably teleport actually towards this wave, might miss the cannon. We'll see how he plays it. The Hextech ultimatum most likely dodged out on the Sion ultimate in the dive attempt, and then Hecarim was going to follow through with an ult of his own. So I think the fact that that Sion ult does get dodged means that there's not enough damage overall to actually secure Claire once the passive was there. Really tragic for the side of the Chiefs. Claire was being pretty aggressive, given the way Lived was baiting it, losing a lot of his health to try and push those minions in. But because it doesn't result in anything positive, that is extremely negative for the Chiefs. Look at the CS difference in top.
Yeah, and you're already so concerned, right, by the fact that so many of those teleports were burnt early on to go towards bot side to find value. He then returns up top side. The insurance policy is gank, get me a kill, crash a wave, ensure that he is able to match me. But then, yes, it hasn't really gone in their favor. Still double to CS in favor of Clean. He comes back to lane with a Sheen.
Which makes laning phase even harder for this Scion, who has gone for double health crystals. Of course, trying to get rid of some of the true damage that is there in a Camille's build isn't going to stop any of the physical damage that currently exists. Herald, very free take here for the side of Direwolves. You can see only walked through mid-wave in the face of Kisei to go towards the Herald that Claire had started. That's been earned through top, right? Because, again, it's not just a failed gank attempt top, it was 2 ultimates used, which means that that's not going to be there for Swathe. And that was also a lot of time where Only was farming. So Swathe falls behind in the jungle on that attempt. Overall, Direwolves 100% feeling outstanding with how this game has gone 9 minutes in.
Certainly are. I mean, you talk about gold leads as a big metric to determine success, but, you know, that's not really prevalent at this stage of the game. It's more so the map movements that have taken place as to how it's allowed individual members to feel quite comfortable. Swathe, posturing mid, but with the wave pushing against him, Shock's quite protected. It has all the summoners in the world to ensure that if it did come to it, he wouldn't lose much as a result. But I think for me, Kisei has really been the silent improver, really, of the split. And coming into this one is definitely showing that, you know, you can be the veteran and I'm the rookie, but I'm going to prove that I can go toe-to-toe with the best.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that he's fallen under the influence of, like, nerves or anything outside of the game. It doesn't seem like a lot shakes him, even for a 17-year-old. Pretty solid gameplay overall, and has improved through the split, as you would want to see and expect to see from a young upstart such as himself. Shock still, you know, it's the same thing on the other side, though. The problem that I guess you would face is when you're the young player, losing that first game does bring up the question, how will that affect you? So far, so good. But at the same time, Shock will never actually be rattled, no matter what you throw at him. And we know that it's possible for a young player like Kisei to find that thing that does rattle you. And again, he's playing his mage style of play. You know, he's not going towards what seems to be his comfort zone, which is something like a Yone.
Mm-hmm. Had a few really impressive performances on that Yone, but not willing to bring it out just yet. Not until it's necessary or a team comp is built around him to flourish in that regard. It's all been about the magic damage in the mid lane, as is tradition. I hear the Scion ult, and I realize that that is only up top side. Looks like he's been pushed to the back of his wave, as they might look to crash this, summon the Herald, and inject a ton of gold into this Camille.
Yeah, only summoning it, so it will be shared gold overall. Herald is going to get the charge off. Lived will do some damage to it, however. At the end of the day, nice little play there while the dragon was being taken, so keep that in mind. Still a trade. More money in the pockets of Shock.
Shock in trouble, hits the Emperor's Divide, looks to try and disengage away, flashing away from a potential charm. Shurima shuffle back to this minion wave. And Summoner's burnt, but his life left intact. There's only rocks up now for the after party of it all. Looking to try and take out Kisei. The wish from bot lane, the charm into the turret. The turtle form to survive, and a TP to bolster.
It just looks like a sick bait. Charm connects, pushes him under the turret. Soraka ults. You're like, this is the one. And then he's just able to walk away. You know, uses the flash, has a Tahm Kench there just in case a chase were to ensue. And still no first blood 11 minutes in. We've seen so much action, a lot of look-ins, a lot of attempts. Nothing actually breaking out so far.
And it's just so crazy to me that there hasn't been a first blood, because from the entire split, Chiefs, they're the most aggressive team in terms of finding themselves first blood. 71% of the time in their games, they have had it, as opposed to Direwolves lagging behind in fifth at only 46%. So they're going to be very happy that things haven't gone too crazy so far, that they're able just to hit that 15-minute mark, compare items, compare XP, and say, have at it.
So that's one Drake apiece here as well. 12 minutes in, we're looking for the next one in about 3.5 minutes, which means there's no sense of urgency around getting the Drakes themselves. It's not going to be a point that must be fought. The side of Direwolves scales super well, so I don't think they'll feel any great need to force for an objective in the next 5 minutes. They'll take what's free, they might look for some picks, but without Mythics being completed, you know, Shock wants 2 items really. Go like Leandri's into the Nash's Tooth. and then you're actually really powerful. Gunkrab does actually spike a little bit harder now. It's worth pointing out with the Kraken Slayer build, the 1-item spike is pretty nasty. But you need 3 items overall for most AD carries to be hitting peak damage. He's hunting for that charm in mid.
He's looking for it once again. The ultimate, it just gets dashed away from the mid jungle. This is the priority for the series where we thought we would see it. It's coming to life this time in game number 2. And you might as well pitch a tent here because these mid laners constantly under fire.
It comes back to what we mentioned in draft there as well, right? You want to play from jungle through mid, then unlock Kisei to play towards sides so they can have a full-on pick composition. If that's not successful, it's not the end of the world because you still are able to break out of laning phase and use the Ahri accordingly anyway. We haven't seen too much success just yet. As a Gunkrab, you can tell they're not looking for kills. Looking to steal a blue buff away from Kisei or Swathe.
He's only just looking to try and slow down the tempo of the game, slow down the clear speeds, keep tabs as to where Swathe is at any given moment. And have eyes in the sky so they have the information necessary to make their next play. The turret plates have fallen on down, but a turret and a first blood have not occurred yet. Might just be a case of waiting for those mythic items before all hell breaks loose.
Culls are stacked. We've hit our 100 CS mark after the cull being purchase point for both respective members there of Direwolves. So overall, in a comfy position means that we're getting very close to those mythics quite shortly. Where on the other side of the coin, you are starting to see the first of many start to crop its head up as Claire joins him as we speak. And again, Chiefs, you know, we highlight that maybe the lack of urgency that Direwolves feel because their scaling is so good. I don't think Chiefs scale terribly by any means. They have an enchanter, right? So they're fine. But at the same time, they'd be pretty comfortable looking for those 5v5 soon.
Swave's popped the Ghost, and once again the ultimate comes on out. The Emperor's Divide actually baiting him as it goes in towards the charm. He's been blocked, he can't attack, it doesn't matter. The wish goes out, Draco picks up an assist, but it's Kisei that gets first blood.
Yeah, I mean, Shock's Emperor's Divide's not going to actually do anything but keep him in line with the Hecarim. It saved him a little bit afterwards, but at the end of the day, pushing the Azir towards Kisei does mean that the charms will connect, does mean that the follow-up's going to be there. And what was that, 3rd time's the charm here, realistically, for the side of the Chiefs? They'll be happy that they get the kill finally. And it's really important, once again, as to who the kill goes towards being Kisei. Everfrost now online. Those picks become easier. But it's still Direwolves with the gold lead. They're still sitting pretty.
They're still quite content with this one as we get to see a bit of what this trade could look like now that Claire has the advantage in lane. He's gone for the hook shot. He might regret that one. He's got the ultimatum, but he knows that the onslaught of shadows is not there. The ultimate connects. Sign headbutts him, looks to lock him in place. He's just going to look to try and go for the 1v2. He finds it. He flashes away. The tactical sweep into the brush because he's trying to life leech some flowers, perhaps.
Passive's up.
Regardless, the passive is there. He's buying his time. The hook shot to disengage. The flash already burned, and Claire is styling on them.
And what a turnaround from the last week's games, even game number 1 to right now. Red buff health regen's doing enough here for Claire to win that. Oh, hang on.
Hang on a minute. As much as exciting is the top lane, bot lane is where we're looking at right now. A flash, best unslap, only dead. Well, actually, Kisei dead, only the one making him dead, as they pick up a dragon as well.
Yeah, so they get the dragon, they get the kills, they get 1v2 kill in top lane from Claire as well. Definitely clutching out this game number 2 here for the side of the Direwolves. That red buff regeneration was going to keep him in that 1v1 as Lift had no mana. Now they move bottom. Looking to threaten taking the entire turret soon as well. Teleports in.
TPs are coming in. Swathe has the ultimate, looking to lock them in place right now. Going to try and buffer that with the 1-2 between top and jungle. Exhaust is down to Swathe. Tom Kench is dead. Another member silenced, forced to flash out the subsequent roots as Gunkrab dies. A successful dive bot side as the bot lane collapses.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think there's any point in Gunkrab even wasting that flash. He was just dead. Wasn't going to get excited, wasn't going to have any resets, so just waste the summoner spell. Chiefs bounce back nicely, however. They do not waste any time on what was a down-tempo play for them just seconds prior. They might lose the Drake, they might lose their lives, but they teleport bottom and they make it happen. And they get a turret.
You get a turret. And I also say, all right, well, you've invested TPs again. Second time is the charm. It feels much the case of this game of investing TPs bot side for kills or driving by mid lane to try and finally take down Shock. But speaking of, They're going to be on the money in terms of scaling up, picking up objectives, giving themselves all the tempo in the world to play around, and determine what the next play on the map might be.
Yeah, I think the main point that we had here was it probably wasn't going to be played around top lane. A lot of the attempts that did happen up there failed and ultimately resulted in negatives happening for the Chiefs. Claire now starting to go off in his own right. A lot of the plays were expected to be around the bottom side of the map. You want to have a stable first item purchase for Drag, ideally stable second item purchase, but you're probably not stuck in bottom lane still at that point, as that can happen very late. And realistically, things have gone... Well, now that we actually have slowed down and we can take stock 18 minutes in, everything's fine. Everything's really relaxed and just everyone kind of playing to their composition strengths. It's the objectives that we'll probably be looking at.
Yeah, and it seems to be, from what we're seeing, as the aftermath of all this carnage is, well, if we're not fighting, then Border's getting control of the map. Out goes the auto once again, and Sway continues to target top side, or actually mid in particular. Liv goes in with the charge, realizes that he's got nobody around him to protect him. He might just go and be sent to the afterlife as quick as can be. It's all importantly Shock that picks up the kill. Clear in the flank, 1v4, gets charm, can't even execute, can't do much about it. Left to the wolves, ironically enough, will fall on down. It is a 1-for-1 trade, and it's both the top laners that pay the price.
It seems like this happens a lot, actually. Oh, it's not over.
That time, that was the Empress fight he was looking for. That's the one he was looking for the first time around. He finds revenge. And Shock this time, able to land his mark.
Yeah, what was just a 1-for-1 trade between top laners lived going too far under the turret and falling down, and Claire seemingly on just a flank that was a little bit too deep. Gets hit by the charm and stuck inside of Soraka Silence. Not a lot of ways out of that one for the Camille. And the Hecarim following up afterwards, well recognized from Shock. There is no flash on a Hecarim, there was no ultimate, there was no ghost. Was just going to drop. And this is a turnaround game for Shock also. This is not a 0-4 Azir. He's now 2-1. He's getting those items on time, if not ahead of the clock, as he's farming quite nicely also. And Kisei on the board. So our win conditions between games have shifted drastically, even if the comps haven't.
They have, and even some of the itemization as well. I mean, I look at the fact that Gunkrab this time around has actually gone for the Immortal Shield Bow rather than the Kraken Slay. He realizes that I need to survive the burst. I've got the itemization, I've got the champion partnership with this time Kench. As long as I can live, maybe we can find those resets to do what we do best. As we're going to jump into a replay. This is how it all started off with, well, the cheeky ending, I suppose, more than anything there with the Empress Divide to pick their kills as we go into live.
We just got to watch the Hecarim die. Back to you.
We got baited there. And as Kisei is looking to showcase what he can do, Everfrost into Charm, so annoyingly frustrating to deal with. The ARAM begins, 20 seconds on the 4th Dragon, all importantly an Ocean Soul.
Yeah. But Shield Bow showing why it was strong there as well, right? Being able to keep Gunkrab alive through the burst, buy enough time for Cupcake to actually close the distance and hit that Devour. Ari does have that pick potential. The Everfrost makes it impossible to escape the charm that follows it up, but now you've got the shield instead. You've recognized that the Chiefs have changed their compositional strategy to be around those picks, and you can now survive much more effectively. It also compensates nicely for not having the cleanse, Skimmy, and having that teleport.
That's a good point. The Herald has been summoned. That's been summoned by the Direwolves, calling their opposition's bluff. Are you going to respond to this? Or are you going to let us have free control over the Dragon? It's not to be the case because Chiefs are already on it. Direwolves continue to set their sights on map pressure.
Really deep Camille positioning. Has to flash there. Felt very caught out of position. Claire coming mid. I think if he hits the hook shot, maybe he gets to hold the flash and he would have earned the great escape, but might have looked funny on a screen. He was very mispositioned. like honestly thought he was a member of the Chiefs for a second, but he gets out with his life.
But it was, ironically enough, or funnily enough actually, we date our mind back to the end of the OPL Split 2 playoffs.
Was the Chiefs?
It was actually the Chiefs that knocked out the Direwolves in a 3-1 best of 5. So he was a part of that Chiefs roster. He's looking to try and bring back vengeance against his former team, but 2 fights now, back-to-back flanking angles that haven't looked too desirable.
Well, the former organization hasn't taken a single map from them yet. I mean, not a single game in a best-of series. Definitely something the Chiefs are looking to readdress. That's clearly an issue in a best-of-5 if you haven't taken a single game from them yet. So far in this second game, they're poised to be pretty well off overall. They've stopped once again, similar to game number 1, they've stopped an early soul consideration here from Direwolves. They've brought it to 2 Drakes apiece. Next Drake being Soul Point is now a consideration with that Ocean Soul you highlight being as important as it is.
Certainly is. Claire, once again, he's been in situations like this before. He's hit the hook shot very early on. Going to try and buffer that with a Hextech ultimate and makes himself unstoppable. Gets... Oh, no. Oh, no. He's been put to sleep as he looks to try and disengage away to the cooling arms of his teammates. Even I was surprised there. It's just so painful. But Chiefs clean on the execution to prevent the escape.
Yeah, really well done from Swaith to hold that ultimate for the hook shot to happen. Just forcing the fear as he hits the wall means he's not going to be able to get over the wall to safety. Stuck just doing a Spider-Man. Hands on the wall, watching as Chiefs are able to chase him down. Very much caught out of position there again, Claire. We praised him earlier in the game, and it just seems like we shouldn't have done that at all. You know, he does hit a 1v2, but way too many members there this time. And had already used the hook shot aggressively, which is why the punish is so nice from the side of the Chiefs. Now moving towards a free turret.
The turret falls, and if Claire's not there to hit the side lanes, then it will be Shock instead, who continues to press these waves and build up his gold lead even further. And it continues to be that same narrative as much to what Game 1 was, of individual leads building up to be quite monumental. And a big component as to why the 25-minute market is still the Direwolves to have themselves that 2.5k gold lead. Lots of items to talk about so far, and it continues to be the case of, despite nerfs on the LDR, it is still just so insanely cost efficient, offers just so much into a team like Chiefs, who are very keen, more than anyone, right, to just bring as many tanks as possible to the forefront.
Yeah, I mean, one of the other things here is because you pretty much always want to go Infinity Edge as a 3rd item. Having the LDR 2nd, it still gives crit, right? So it's actually just beneficial and saves you from having to do like a Zeal item and then forced to go for a 4th item LDR. IA is just so efficient as the 3rd.
Certainly is efficient, and that's another efficient ultimate used here by Swaith, who gets knocked into the red buff, charges straight back at you, and catches out of place Cupcake.
Yeah, and again, another pick. It continues to happen. Chiefs continue to hit mid-game, find their stride, find those picks, and now it leads towards the objectives. Direwolves are here ready to contest this one if that's the choice that they would like to make. They could.
Shaka Zonias. There's a potential opportunity for him to hit the Emperor's Divide and try and steal this one away. Only in the air. It doesn't have flash though. They're trying to stall this one for as long as possible. They've stolen it again. It happens every single time, Rusty. It happens every single time. Somebody just go over the wall and stop it.
That just sucks. That just really sucks. That's the 2nd time we've seen a Jinx ultimate used on a team doing Barons. The 2nd time we've seen it successfully steal it. Lived teleports into the pit to try and deter them from doing it, or from getting the Udyr in there for a smite steal. Why even have a smite battle? Just press your Jinx ultimate. Does more damage than smite anyway, apparently. It's just ridiculous, even in melee range. And it's able to snag that one up. Gunkrab comes in clutch for the team, but 100% puts someone between the Jinx and the Baron.
We're getting flashbacks to this series up against Order. It gets stolen away time and time again. And the champion is just bonkers for this good reason. So, well, Direwolves given an opportunity when they really had no right at finding that fight. 4v5, no flash for only to try and steal it away.
Yeah, I mean, it was going to be probably only trying to just suicide to get it. It was their best bet there, realistically, besides the Jinx ultimate. Claire wasn't even nearby. He was slowly trudging his way up. End of the day, they get the Baron. They get an opportunity here now as well to split push. You can see Claire with teleport ready. Probably won't even teleport. They'll just consider, once again, sacrificing the Drake. Kisei smartens up. Let it be known, boys, that you don't get to steal 2 objectives in a row from the Chiefs. Kisei's there. The 2 turrets still, and maybe more.
I mean, this is huge, right? You know, forget about the Dragon Soul. We're not playing for that. We're looking to siege your base, open up the map. We've picked up 3 turrets so far. Now we're crippling your base to open up inhibitors as a result as well. We can just disengage away. The charm connects, only falls on down, but 2 inhibitors are exposed in top and mid. And that's the case if Chiefs can look to try and capitalize and remove any more Baron buffs.
Yeah, and once again, it's a 4-1 Ahri. Gets a nice pick onto only. There's no Merc treads there, so you're able to CC lock that Udyr for days. And he does, and it's successful. But they've already lost 2 turrets and now 4 turrets from that Baron buff push. It is a 5,000 gold lead that stretches out of nowhere from a steal of an objective. And it is still Direwolves, like we highlight. No urgency. No need to take team fights 5v5. There's no need to play the Chiefs game when you scale so incredibly well, and you've just given 2 potential lanes of win conditions to Claire and a Camille for a split push anyway. Why team fight at all, unless absolutely necessary?
Yeah, I mean, he still has that teleport, most importantly, right? So if Chiefs continue to be aggressive, hunting for picks and finding success on vision, then there is the constant concern in the back of your mind. What is the trade-off? What do we lose for this as a result? So Direwolves, I suppose it rinses it back to the point of that Baron steal and sort of what it's opened up as a result. 2 opportunities now to find win conditions.
I mean, it's basically won the game for them, right? It's one of those things that you'll be kicking yourself if you're the Chiefs to even let that one happen. Claire does need to respect, but it's a Soraka that is protecting right now. It's Swayth you have to be worried about.
He's going to get rooted. He's in so much trouble right now, buffering with the passive. Out comes Cupcake, looking to try and consume, looking to try and protect. He buffers his HP bar. It's as grey as all things considered. He's just going to fall on down, unfortunately. Swiped away. That's a huge flash forward here from Liv. The charm connects again. Kissei so clean. He's now 5-1-1. He's popping off when it matters most. He's showcasing that nerves just don't exist. Rookie or not, he can prove to be the key carry in this situation. Claire, the main focus is the one to disengage away, but the cavalry have been dismantled as 2 fall down.
I think Chiefs are just looking to stay bottom and push the wave out. They'll give Lived 1 more wave. Overall, what do they get from this, right? They have closed the gold difference from about 5,000 to 4. There's a teleport top lane to keep priority, and Claire just needs to respect for 1 second, please. As he keeps getting caught, and Cupcake dies for Claire being targeted.
He's still staying around. He's cancelled a recall here from Sway, so also we have that vision and that know-how. He must just have a beacon on his head saying, come at me.
I mean, it feels that way for sure. The entirety of the Chiefs, if in doubt, gank Claire does seem to be the game plan, from coaching staff opinions of the player to actual gameplay from Swayth and even Dragku this time. Nice little combo from the Chiefs, by the way, mechanically. Soraka's silence on top of a Scion ultimate charging you down means that you just get hit by it, and it's a lot of damage. So that was nice. My gripe with that whole situation there was that ultimately multiple members of Direwolves die for Claire being caught out of position. Instead of just sacrificing perhaps Claire, keeping the teleport there and saying we lose control of the map for a little bit, a full-on fight does ensue, and it's Cupcake going by himself into the belly of the beast to try and save him.
Yeah, jumps in, hits the Emperor's Divide to try and block off their retreat as the rest of them say we've done enough here. And the charms, you know, Kissei continues to hit this deadly combination between Everfrost and Charm, find that pick and the rest of the damage. It's all there to follow things up with a second game here for Mboma.
This is dangerous for the Chiefs, though. Look at Claire right now, positionally. Lift has teleport, but he's choosing to group so that they force priority around the objective of what is an Ocean Soul.
Ari's responding, gone back to base.
Ari no teleport, so just keep that in mind when Liv does.
Soraka coming back too. They've actually split apart the Chiefs here. Split decision making. This is going to give Direwolves the entry into the base. Claire looking to try and charge away. Doesn't get Charm. Going to go for the 1v1. Gets Charm now. Gets rooted. Gets collapsed upon. 4 members in his face. Has Flash. Has TP. But is now down for 55 seconds.
I mean, that's just illegal gaming. I don't even know how to be kind about that one for Claire. He's overextended when the rest of the Chiefs have gone missing. The idea is that you had winning lane assignments, so you play around the fact that the Ari is there without teleport. Of course she's going to have reinforcements if the Chiefs are missing. And there's no dragon to take for the next 13 seconds.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a head scratcher there, ultimately.
It just feels
now
so
Dial's at the 4v5 to even stop an Ocean Soul.
They're in the river and are thinking, well, if there was a dragon to take, the bait would have worked out. But as you say, Rusty, it's a 4v5 and for a soul point.
Just insulted, I guess.
Yeah. Like I said, once again, Kissei looking to charge on through first of all. It's Mboma that picks a kill apart. He gets a double kill, removes the key carry in Gun Crab, and it was a 4v5 before. Well, if the numbers continue to be in your advantage, there is no Jinx Salt. There's no worry about getting steals.
I mean, Direwolves felt pressured, so they mispositioned through that pressure that's being forced on them. Chiefs do not walk straight into the bushes. They play appropriately, and now they're able to get 2 picks in toward the Baron itself. This split-pushing strategy that the Direwolves were looking to enact has been a critical fail so far, even though the potential is extremely high for it to succeed. Ocean Soul Scion, Ocean Soul Soraka, unkillable.
Well, that's going to be the Baron. And that is the icing on the cake, really, for Chiefs reading the map, being given opportunities to play to their own success, and then being granted the ultimate reward. And as you say, it's just too much sustain to deal with right now. I mean, just look at the healing cut. It's just the executioners from Gunkrab.
It just feels like this was Direwolf's game to lose, you know? Like, Chiefs 100% have been playing well, and I have been trying to compliment as they go, because they're like 5-0 in Boma, by the way, with a 700 gold shutdown. Has been playing incredibly well, but even in the situation where Chiefs were in the lead, it felt like Direwolf still had the overall control of the map. You know, they actually still had the gold lead. Chiefs had kill momentum, Direwolves had overall map momentum, and this has kind of completely swung to the wayside from a couple of small mistakes from members of Direwolves, when now suddenly the script isn't Chiefs are going to try and force something and it gets traded with a split push. It's actually now instead Chiefs are just winning. So there's really little situations at this point where Direwolves come back from the deficit that they're now facing, even though they're 2,000 gold ahead.
That gold lead is soon, very soon, not to exist, because it is now Chiefs knocking the door off the opposition, saying thanks for the money and thanks for the opportunity to bring things back to the brink. It was close in game one. It's definitely close in game two here as well. And at 35 minutes in, it's a case of which team can take down the inhibitor first. As it's Claire on the flank, Claire getting caught, Claire getting bullied, hits the ultimate, hits the stopwatch and says, where is my team? Flashing away to be consumed by Cupcake. But now a lot of that split pushing technique has been removed, and Chiefs have opened up this map.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be at least the turret in mid lane you would expect to slowly drop down if Liv's able to hold that wave. You can see the turret in bot lane already gone. The Azir just trying to hold strong. It requires mistakes from the Chiefs for Direwolves realistically to have a chance here.
Very patient.
Really rough situation.
Very patient. And why would they not need to be patient? Because they've got the Ocean Soul. They've got the power. The Baron buff to inspire this cannon minion to run on through. Liv soaking up the world, receives the heal, pushes on through, putting damage, most importantly, on towards this mid inhibitor, and it will finally fall down. Chiefs in such a good spot right now.
Those, yeah, I mean, one inhibitor sure to fall, as you saw. The second one not too far away. We are now, and we said this when it was a 2,000 gold deficit, we are now dead even in gold, and do not look at the gold as any kind of reflection on how this game state actually is. The carries of the Chiefs are so incredibly fair. They're on Gunkrab.
Oh, they found him again. Oh, great consume there. Nullifying him. And Boma, he tries to steal it away. Swaif, even exhausted, takes him. He's removed him. And Claire once again hits the ultimate to try and zone away 4 key targets. It's a case of which member can fall on down first. Swaif eventually is a lamb to the slaughter. A charm connects again. Kisei continues to dazzle. And the Direwolves, their base is bleeding by the second. They have to try and find some way to stop Chiefs knocking on the Nexus.
Yeah, I mean, Only's joined the Chiefs roster. He's outside the base. So he is completely zoned away. Chiefs are going to say, let's do the 3 inhibitor approach, even though they've got a wave pushing in top lane.
Oh,
Kisei flashes.
Yeah, hit the flash charm, doesn't connect. Now Claire looking for the 1v4 situation, buffering his passive, hoping he can find something, but the healing from this Soraka, it's just absurd.
I mean, that's probably just game. Shock's going to have to try and do his best. Only finally gets back inside the base, but that'll put us at 1-1, Skibby. We have a real series.
We certainly do have a series on our hand. All things tied up. We're going to game 3. It's the Chiefs and Direwolves bringing us a banger.
And I'm getting vibes, Skibby, of when Pensinet played Peace in this weird way where I feel like it's just going to go the distance. It's just going to go to 5. Direwolves have stolen a win away from where they were starting to lose. Chiefs looked so good in the mid game and brought it back. Direwolves brought it back again late game in game number 1. This time, Chiefs, they get a lot of momentum. They're looking decent. They're getting kills. Direwolves control the map. But suddenly the Chiefs pull it back this time, and they're able to find the victory through just playing solid, just good League of Legends. Now coming into this third game, so many question marks for mid-game overall. And I think Draft may actually start to shift to reflect that.
I think it might do, and I'm keen to see from a spectator's perspective what Mac actually thought about that game, because you're looking at 2 games right now where the ebb and flow, it's all over the show. It's like a heart rate just bouncing around, unsure what to think anymore.
Yeah, that was absolutely crazy. I was thinking that Direwolves, even though they were, you know, a couple of kills down, with that split pushing, they almost managed to siege the base, but just couldn't get those inhibs. And then you guys mentioned it on the cast, there was 2 back-to-back fights where Claire got caught out, not only getting 2 of his teammates killed, but then getting himself killed moments before Baron spawned, before the Dragon spawned, before the Soul. And it just sort of felt like it was the biggest swing in momentum I've seen in a damn long time. And Chiefs happily took that in their stride and managed to finish off the back of it. You know, just dragging out these team fights, taking the base step by step, just doing all the right things and not throwing too much too early in the game. And speaking of, both these games so far have gone so long, almost hitting the 40-minute mark on both of them.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely had a lot of calm, I don't want to say measured, but like a lot of late game focus here from draft to play. Seen through items. Once again, you can see that Baron steal an absurdly high amount of health on those Barons. Although I think we've just got Only's cackle. He didn't actually do anything. Gunkrab did it all. Perfect job as a jungler.
I mean, this is the moment, right, Rusty, where you're a little bit critical of the fact that, you know, Claire, once again, playing on the side lanes, looking to try and do whatever he can, gets baited, actually baits his own team into the fight. It's Cupcake that falls on down first of all. Shock that tries to disengage away. He's the second casualty, and Claire's like, oh, soz, guys.
Yeah, I was, in regards to, you know, the Jinx ult just dealing so much damage to the Baron and just providing so many steals. I think I was watching LCS, and they were discussing it as well, saying it's a little bit too much, maybe in its current state. So
100% is broken. It does so much more than Smite on a global range. Like, the only thing that should be able to steal Baron away from Smite, if the Smite's done properly, is a Cho'Gath ult. I really dislike that Jinx ult does that much damage.
You can even see, I think in game 1, they were ready for it, and Lived was purposely positioning himself so that the Super Mega Death Rocket couldn't actually get to the Dragon. I remember that from game 1. But game 2, just as exciting as well, and now we're tied up again, so it's into best of 3 territory.
Yeah, look, I mean, for me, I look at this one and I think I want to see a few adaptations in the draft. I think Kisei's been playing really, really well. I think I'd like to see Shock play something different as opposed to the Azir. It seems like they've kind of gone away from the poke comps with the likes of Zoe, which he was so keen on for such a long time. We'd love to see him just showcase why we were giving him the title of the best mid lane in the LCO for such a long time, because he's been targeted in game 2. He's not really had much of an impact on the Azir in game 1. I don't think he got a single kill, so we harp his praises, but it feels like the power was shifted to other players on the team. But no, sure, blips on the radar where Claire goes from playing a tank to a split pusher, unable to really execute clean on those 2 fronts. I'm not sure really what direction I'd want Direwolves to go towards, but I feel like Chiefs are saying we want a team fight, we're getting team fights, game on.
Yeah, I just think a Hecarim ban. Like, for me personally, that's the only issue that I'm seeing that the Chiefs are presenting that is beating you if you're Direwolves, right? The Hecarim has been ganking consistently. It's been, even if it's unsuccessful, it still seems to be fine in the game. And I don't feel like I've seen any other champion from Swathe have this crazy of an influence while still being a team fighting tank. So I think that's a pretty good avenue to attack, because so far Swathe's been playing very well.
Well, boys, I'll give you a moment to catch your breaths. Ladies and gentlemen, go get yourself a drink of water, because you want to stay hydrated. This is getting sweaty up in here. We're going deep into the series. Game 3 coming up just after the break.
Just insulted, I guess.
Yeah. Like I said, once again, Kisei looking to charge on through first of all. It's Mboma that picks a kill apart. He gets a double. Oh, great consume there. Nullifying him. Mboma! He tries to steal it away. Swathe, even exhausted, takes him. He's removed him. And Claire, once again,